Well, was the Treaty of Versailles actually good at all? I mean, we'll just go over an overview of what the Treaty of Versailles basically did. 6 million people who were German suddenly found themselves living in other countries. They suddenly were told they weren't German anymore and that they had to join this other country that they arguably didn't want to join up with. The country of Germany lost 13% of its land completely. People were saying that it was too harsh. Lloyd George said that there would be a war in 25 years' time because of the Treaty of Versailles. Germany as itself was crippled and made all these German people feel vulnerable and upset. It was a diktat, they had to force and take it. The whole process was just quite chaotic, don't you agree? The Treaty of Versailles was not the most ideal of treaties. It was not the most perfect of treaties. It could be seen as fair in some ways and unfair in others. There's loads of ways to put it. But the thing is, the treaty had to happen. This was the end of one of the most bloody wars that had ever happened. So many countries worldwide. And to create a solution to all of this, where, should we say, at least most of the world is happy, is quite an achievement. On top of that, when wars had been lost before, the terms had been harsh before. In previous examples of like the war in Crimea, for example, people who lost wars generally had to accept harsh terms. That's why you were fighting, to avoid the harsh terms. So this was kind of to be expected in a way. The main reason why Germany thought it would be different was because Wilson was there. They thought his peaceful terms would be what it was based on, but when his terms didn't get worked out, Germany got kind of upset that they had to accept these really harsh things. And on top of that, this whole piece was, it was armistice. It was trying to stabilize the world and re-stabilize what this instability that was basically everywhere around the world completely. So knowing all of this, the treaty could be seen as harsh but necessary. Now the thing is, it wasn't the only treaty that was enacted at the end of the First World War. The Treaty of Versailles was the treaty for Germany. There were a load of other treaties. One's called the Treaty of Saint-Germain, which was put towards Austria. Treaty of Neuilly put it for Bulgaria. Treaty of Trianon for Hungary, and the Treaty of Sèvres for Turkey. These, should we say, treaties were placed on other countries to punish them for their role in the war. Now, in lesson, you'll have looked at these in more detail, and in the textbook there will be more detail, but you'll notice that all of them are much less harsh than Germany's one. You'll notice that the Treaty of Saint-Germain, no amount ever fixed on reparations. You could say in the Treaty of Neuilly, the reparations were set at 100 million rather than 6.6 billion. The Treaty of Trianon was that there were no reparations. There was a kind of ridiculous level of leniency put to all these other countries. And compared to Germany, it's ridiculous, isn't it? You kind of imagine being a German person and being like, what on earth? And then even on top of that, there was an even madder kind of set that these other treaties caused. See, the Treaty of Sèvres put towards Turkey put such terms on Turkey that the Turkish people revolted, tried to overthrow the government. And the government of Turkey said, we're going to go to war again to try and stop this Treaty of Sèvres being put on top of us. Now, Britain and France were not ready to fight another war. So they overwrote the Treaty of Sèvres with this last one, the Treaty of Lausanne. They overwrote the Treaty of Sèvres. Imagine listening to the Treaty of Versailles, being told you have all this rubbish stuff put on you, and watching someone else have theirs get rewritten. It made everyone realise that the treaties couldn't be enforced. As in, if you broke the treaty, the other countries would not fight you over it. They were too weak to fight you. And this revealed to Hitler and Mussolini later on in time that they could break the treaties that they were forced to be put under. And admittedly, some of these other treaties matched people up with people they hated, like Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia were created because of some of these treaties. Those countries don't exist anymore, and the reason is because they forced groups of people together that clearly didn't like each other. They had such bloody civil wars that they've become their own countries. Chechnya, Slovakia, they are their own places now. So, in general, the Treaty of Versailles is definitely harsh, but is it necessarily harsh? Is it as bad as some of these other treaties that were put around? What you need to know is clearly, right, why might it be seen as fair? Why might it be seen as unfair? Clear. But also, why might someone want to defend the big three and the achievements that they might have made with this treaty? And lastly, you need to know a little bit about the Treaty of Saint-Germain, Neuilly, and Trianon, and even Sèvres and Lausanne. But make sure that you can explain the differences between them, the leniency granted. This is a bit tough, I'll admit. There's 2 different textbook pages that you need to look at, but you should be able to understand this wider acceptance of the Treaty of Versailles. So look it up, revise it yourself. Good luck.